Alright, I'm going to talk real quick about we've been looking at special kind of equations and special lines that we're going to see. So I want to do a video here real quick to show you what happens when we have vertical lines. So if I have a vertical line on the graph, it's going to look something like this, right? I have my vertical going up and down. Now already thinking back to our functions and knowing what we know about functions, I can tell that this is not a function. It would fail the vertical line test miserably because it is a vertical line. Okay, but what I want to look at is, for math's sake, is I want to go ahead and I still want to make a table, and I want to see, well, what would these points look like if I did try and put it on the table? So we can kind of dig into it there. So I'm going to find a couple points that are on my graph, that are on my line. Forgive my kind of sloppiness there. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put those on my table. So I have when x is 4, y is 4. I also have when x is 4, y is 1. And when x is 4, y is negative 3. So again, your mind should be going off thinking about functions because I have x's that repeat. So this is not a good function. Just like we would find any equation, again, I'm going to do delta y over delta x. So I'm going to write these over here, my delta y's over delta x's. From 4 to 1, I'm subtracting 3. From 1 to 3, I'm subtracting 4. From 4 to 4 is 0, and 4 to 4 is 0. So now when I'm doing delta y over delta x, I have two different ones. I have negative 3 over 0, and I have negative 4 over 0. Now this is where we run into a problem, because the calculator is going to give you for both of these an answer of an error, and what we call is that's undefined. Because what that means is it's impossible to do that problem. You can't divide by 0, because that's like saying I have 2 cookies and I'm going to divide them into 0 groups. Well, in one group there would be 2 cookies in one group, so if you have 0 groups, then technically now you're saying the cookies don't exist, and you run into this whole big problem, and that's why we call it undefined. And so really, that's when we run into a line like this, you can call it undefined and we can stop there, because there's no way of finding that slope. There's no way of writing an equation for it, because there is no relationship here in this situation. Now, sometimes you will see kind of an equation written, and what they'll say is they'll say x equals 4, because all my x's are 4, they'll write it like that. And that would just show that no matter what the value is, x is always going to be 4, and you can kind of draw that line. So these are kind of the two different ways you're going to see these lines written. So just for another quick example of what you might see, say I had a line going over here on the left side. You could put it as undefined, or I could also say x equals negative 6, because no matter what the y value is, x will always be negative 6. And so that's kind of how we're going to deal with our vertical lines.